guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. I am so happy you guys are joining me here today. Very excited for today's video. Today I thought it would be fun to jump right back into my favorite topic, and that of course is relationships. I just love talking about this. I truly think one of the most important decisions that you're gonna make in your adult life is to choose a life partner. And not to mention, I'm sure it's something that we all think about all the time. I was there myself. Honestly, when I was in a relationship, I was still thinking about relationships and they consumed my life. And then when I wasn't in a relationship and I was single, even more. Of course, I was always thinking about who's going to be my person, when am I going to meet them, where am I going to meet them, how is it going to happen, all of these things. And I've had conversations with close friends and family members, so I've heard enough to know that we are thinking about relationships at all times, and rightfully so. Like I said, it's going to be a very important decision that you're going to make, so we have to think things through thoroughly. Now, if I'm being honest with you guys, I personally do not think that I was thinking things through clearly and thoroughly when I was a lot younger. So I'll get into that in just a little bit because it will tie to our overall topic. But I remember being a teenager that struggled so much with relationships. When I was a lot younger, obviously I felt like I did not know how to navigate my relationships in a healthy way, and there was evidence of that. So I was with the wrong people at the wrong time, doing the wrong things, and I just failed at relationships time and time again. And so I eventually got to a point where I was tired of being in those situations, because it wasn't just like, oh, the people are the problem, but it slowly started turning into like, wait, I am experiencing the same issue just with different faces, so something's not working out for me. And so that's when I got into the whole topic of self-love and self-reflection and self-awareness, emotional intelligence, a whole bunch of stuff that just added so much beauty into my life. And then I slowly started to see that my confidence was growing. I started realizing that I was actually a lot more in control of the outcomes that I wanted to get in my life. And in that, I also came face to face with the fact that I was actually choosing to be with all of those people. So yes, I was in various toxic relationships with people who did not treat me properly, who abused me mentally, emotionally. It was just bad. It was terrible. And to be honest with you guys, I love studying trauma and psychology and just how different events affect us as adults. So what happens when you are a person that is trying to fill a void inside? Kind of imagine this water bottle being empty, and your mission is to get this filled. Like, that is the main thing that has to happen. And so you're carrying this around with you every single where you go, and you're trying to see who can fill this cup for me. I'm desperate for this. I need this to get filled. Can you do it? Can you do it? Can you do it? And at the point where you are desperate, you start to accept just anything, because again, you are desperate. It's not like you're free to choose whatever you want and be picky. No, I honestly dated a lot of narcissists, and I feel like I attracted them to me because I was so desperate to find anyone who was willing to come in and fill that void. And so the reason why I am mentioning this is because I want some of us to become aware of the fact that sometimes we are saying yes to a whole bunch of red flags. We are actively choosing to continue to be in toxic cycles. And I don't say that to blame you. I don't say that to make you feel bad, because it is the only way that you're actually going to be able to first attract the right person into your life, the one that's going to love you in the best way possible, in the most healthy way possible. And two, it's the only way that you are going to be equipped to get the most out of a romantic relationship. The truth is, a lot of us are stuck in places that we choose to put ourselves in every single day. Every single time you allow someone to disrespect you, every single time you allow someone to cross a boundary, every single time you allow someone to give you less than the bare minimum, you are essentially agreeing with that behavior. And I know that can be very hard to hear, trust me, because a lot of us who are in toxic relationships are actually experiencing a lot of other things that are keeping us in that relationship that we also feel we we don't have so much control over. So let me give you guys a little bit of an example. When I was dating a narcissist, they would use tactics to try to keep me in the relationship. I tried leaving so many times, but then there were threats. Or perhaps I had already poured so much time and energy into the relationship, so it wouldn't make sense to leave now, right? Those were just some of the thoughts that I thought about when I was with a toxic person. And I mean, the person was treating me like crap. There was probably nothing good left in the relationship, and I was still stuck to it. The reason behind that was because there were a lot of manipulation tactics that were being used. So I understand if you're stuck in a toxic relationship and you feel like it's very hard and damn near impossible to leave. I was there too, but trust me, one, it is possible, and two, it is a lot brighter on the other side. Real and healthy love is never gonna make you question your worth. You're not gonna have to be begging for someone's attention or for someone to simply listen to your feelings. And most importantly, healthy love brings peace into your life. That is what it should feel like. And when you are in a toxic relationship, obviously you feel the complete opposite. So with all of that being said, really what I want to focus on today, or why I'm making this video, is honestly for my younger self. For that younger girl who really didn't know what red flags to look out for. A lot of the things that I'm going to mention in this video, if you are in a healthy space in your life, which is what I would hope for anyone, I'm sure you might hear some of these things and say, well, duh, that's obvious. But again, with people who have been in these cycles and who have gotten used to this kind of treatment, these things don't sound all too bad. So there's obviously a huge problem with that. We want to ultimately advocate for healthy relationships, and to be so real with you, when it comes to healthy relationships, it is all in your hands. So realizing the red flags and cutting them off before it gets too far is the wisest thing that you can do if you actually want to see a beautiful relationship come into your life. If you are stuck in a toxic cycle and you need a reminder that this relationship is not for you, then please keep on watching this video. Today we're going to go over 10 red flags that we need to look out for when we are dating someone. And this is perfect if you already feel a little bit uneasy about the person that you're dating at the moment, and you're having doubts. I'm sure that's why you're watching this video. Then stay tuned. I'm gonna tell you guys, if you are experiencing anything that is on this list, run, okay? This is not what love is. This is not what's in store for you. There is so much better out there. All right, we've said enough. Let's get right into the list of red flags that you guys have to look out for. The very first one is going to be a go with the flow person. Now, why do I mention this? What I'm trying to say is that if you are a person who wants to seriously date someone and actually find your life partner, you have decided you don't want to mess around, you're really trying to settle down and find your person, then I'm sorry to tell you, but you cannot further pursue a relationship with someone who says they just want to go with the flow and they don't really care about making things official with you, because we have two people who want very different things. I've always just wanted very serious relationships, but there would be times where I would sit down with people and I would ask them, you know, like, what is your intention with this relationship? Or how do you feel about labels or getting a little bit more serious? And the answer was, you know what, I'm a more go with the flow kind of person, and I'm not really looking for anything serious. I'm just trying to have fun. And because I, again, was so empty inside, anything that they were telling me was okay. Even when I heard that their intentions did not align with my intentions, I was kind of like, well, but they're still interested in me, so we can make this work out. Or maybe I can convince them, right? Which that never happens. Don't ever think you're gonna convince anyone. Ultimately, you have to stay true to yourself. You know what you want, and you're still putting your feelings to the side because you just want to fill a void, right? It makes sense, but that doesn't mean that it is effective. It's going to give us negative results. What's gonna end up happening is that we're both gonna go our separate ways because someone wants this and the other person wants that. It's just naturally not going to work out. So if you do want to seriously date someone and find your life partner, and you're hearing the person that you're dating say that they actually don't want that, then maybe you shouldn't be with them. You should probably wait to find someone who actually wants a serious relationship as well, because people act according to their belief system. So whatever's up here is pretty much controlling everything else and how we act. If you have someone who doesn't believe that relationships are important or necessary, or just simply something that they don't want in their life at that moment, then they're probably not going to be acting towards having a serious relationship and like building a foundation with you, right? The second red flag that you have to look out for is if you are experiencing any kind of like secrecy, and trust me, it's obvious. When you're with this kind of person in a toxic relationship, you can just tell. I mention this because I also think a lot of us are oblivious to these kinds of things happening to us. I definitely was. I was getting cheated on for months at one point in my life, and I had absolutely no idea. But the person was hiding so many things, and when I actually look back on it, I noticed all of those things. Red flag number 3 is if you get that gut feeling, or if you're constantly just uneasy around your partner. I remember when I was in toxic relationships, if you were to ask me to describe the bad times in comparison to the good times, it would probably be a 9-to-1 ratio. 9 times bad, 1 time good. I was always on constant alert. I even think when I was sleeping, I was stressing out. Like, that's how bad it was. Truthfully, with every single toxic relationship, I knew deep inside of my core that this was not my place. This was not the best for me. This is not the love that I have always dreamt of having in my life. If you're having any of those thoughts or feelings, please, I urge you to listen to those feelings, because they are there for a reason. If you don't feel good with this person and your body is constantly reminding you of that, listen to your body. It's telling you something. I honestly wish I would have done that. I think it would have avoided so many toxic relationships. Red flag number 4 would be someone who lacks intentionality. When someone is intentional, they are showing up, okay? That's really what it comes down to. Intentionality is so heavily tied to actions, because we all know that we can say beautiful things, but if nothing is being done with our actions, then it really doesn't matter. You need to be with someone who considers your feelings, listens to you, and then is intentional about fixing anything that they have to fix, or helping with the relationship actually getting better. In order to see a healthy relationship, we need both parties to be people who stand on top of their word, and they show you how much they care about you. There is absolutely no way for you to experience the most beautiful parts of a romantic relationship if you lack intentionality, because if you want those results, you have to work towards those results. That doesn't just magically appear. If you have someone in your life where you are constantly telling them, hey, this bothers me, it really hurts me when you say this or when you do this, and they're not doing anything about that, they're still continuing their behavior, they're still continuing to do that same thing that you have constantly told them time after time again, really hurts you, and that probably means that person, 1, doesn't care about you, and 2, lacks intentionality. So their actions are never there, and they're never going to show up for you in the way that you need them to show up for you if you want this relationship to work out. If the person that you're with is not intentional, then they are not the one for you. Red flag number 5 would be if they are deflecting responsibility. So usually what happens when you guys are faced with an argument or an issue or some kind of disagreement is that someone might be wrong, or someone might need to apologize, or someone might need to say, you know what, yeah, I screwed up, or you know what, I didn't mean to hurt you, but the fact is I did, so I will apologize for that and I will be better. That is an example of someone who can take responsibility for their actions, and that is very necessary in just your adult life in general, but obviously very important in romantic relationships. It's the only way that they work out. So when you have someone who deflects responsibility on the flip side, it's someone who's never going to admit that they're wrong, and they're never going to apologize, which means they lack self-awareness because they actually don't think they did anything wrong, and you have no room for restoration, which is so needed in romantic relationships. Not to mention, it's also not the best thing for you because everything is always going to fall on you. It's always going to be your fault. When you're with a person who will never take responsibility for their own actions, they're going to blame anyone else but themselves, and they're going to make you feel like crap. And that's also why you feel so unstable emotionally and mentally while you're with a toxic person who doesn't acknowledge when they're wrong. Red flag number 6 is someone who is possessive or who always wants to have intense control over you. I have experienced this myself, and it is one of the worst feelings ever. The only person's actions that you can control are your own actions. You can never control anyone else because you don't live inside of anyone else's head, and that wasn't your assignment to begin with. That's not why you're here. Someone who truly loves themselves themselves realizes that they are only in control of themselves, and so they prioritize their well-being and they take responsibility for themselves. And so what happens afterwards is that because they understand how the system works, they also know that they don't have the ability to control anyone else's actions, so they simply just let go and let people be. That is what we should strive to do, because it's the only thing that's actually going to give us positive results. When you love someone, the last thing you want is to control them. I don't want to control anyone that I love. I'm like picturing all of the people in my life that I love so much, and I can never imagine myself trying to control them. I want them to be able to make their own choices. I want them to be their own individuals. That is what freedom feels like. That's like the best feeling ever, and to withhold that from someone would be so wrong. Yet so many people do that in romantic relationships. They want to control their partners. They're possessive over their partners. Nobody touches this person. This person belongs to me. And that's not how it's supposed to be. That person belongs to themselves. You belong to yourself as well. You guys can be in a committed relationship. You guys can be in a romantic partnership and not feel like you have to shelter these people in and control every single aspect of their lives. If you truly love them, you're going to want them to be free and feel free to make their own choices. And also, if you trust that they truly love you back, then you know that there's no need to control them, because they're going to make sound choices regardless of you controlling them or not. Trust me, I say this from personal experience. When you are in a healthy relationship, there is absolutely no need for you to control your partner. Like, that sense of possessiveness does not even exist in a healthy environment. It's not necessary. And not to mention, it doesn't feel good either. No one likes to feel controlled. Red flag number 7 would be lack of emotional regulation. Now, here's the thing. We are all beings that experience emotions and feelings. So things in the outer world will happen. They'll trigger us. We'll feel some kind of emotion, and then usually we act upon our emotions. Sometimes we can act in healthy ways, or we can act in unhealthy ways. So that's why we need emotional regulation. We as adults are responsible for controlling our feelings and emotions as a unit, ourselves, nobody else. Like I said again, you take responsibility for yourself. So when I feel sad, when I feel mad, when something happens to me and it sparks that emotion, it is my responsibility to regulate that emotion and make sure, for the benefit of myself and others, that I am reacting in a positive way towards that thing that I just got hit with. It's kind of like it's going through this process, getting cleansed, and then it can come out and be sound for my environment. And because every single human is going to experience negative emotions, that is also why it is so important for humans to know how to deal and handle those emotions. One of the main things that you will see with people who haven't developed their emotional regulation is people who will lash out on you, who will yell at you, who will go to the extreme whenever something goes wrong. These actions are usually very, very obvious, and of course they are hurtful to anyone who is experiencing that. It is not okay for someone to yell at you. As an adult, you can have a mature conversation, keep your tone in a nice and healthy volume, and still communicate your emotions and resolve issues. You can do that. And so if that's possible, that's what we should be striving to do. I really just describe it as an adult tantrum, and I feel like so many adults have these little tantrums where we're either yelling, throwing stuff, treating people in just vile ways because we don't know how to handle a negative emotion that we're experiencing. That's really what it comes down to. So when you have someone who has not developed their emotional regulation, then trust me, that's probably not someone that you want to be with. Red flag number 8 is if you are constantly breaking up. Okay, this is to say that you guys are in a romantic relationship and then 3 months later you guys break up. A week later you guys are back together. You know, one day you guys decide to break up for 2 days and then you guys get back together. And it's just constant cycle, right? A lot of us have either been in that constant cycle or a lot of us have seen someone else in that constant cycle. It's very common, unfortunately. But this one has to be one of the most obvious ones. If you're constantly ending the relationship, there has to be a reason why you're ending it in the first place, right? And so you ended it this time for this reason, and then you ended it that time for that reason, and then this reason, and then that reason, and then this reason, and this reason, and that reason. You have a whole bucket of reasons why this person is not the person for you, and you keep on going back to this person again and again, expecting that they're going to change, and this number just keeps on getting higher and higher and higher, because people don't change unless they decide they want to change for themselves. And usually that only happens when something drastic happens to them, or when they're alone in their own time and they mature, and honestly their prefrontal cortex actually develops. That's really when it mostly happens. Red flag number 9 is if they are anxiously attached to you. We can't talk about the different attachment styles. I want to leave that for another video. In fact, I think I have a podcast episode on that, so I will link that down below for you guys. But I want to focus on the anxiously attached because there are several little things that go under that anxiously attached. I really want to highlight the importance of individuality in a romantic relationship. Like I've been saying, since you are responsible for yourself, it seems to be a common trend throughout this video to talk about this, but honestly, it's just so true. We were never meant to find our purpose in another individual. We were never meant to just live for someone else. We are individuals who have our own upbringing, our own experiences, our own trauma, our own interests, our own friends and family that we have to tend to. I am dahennne, and there's so many branches that come out of me that make me who I am. I'm not just dahennne because of my relationship or because of my family members or my friends or my job or my environment. I am dahennne because of all of those things and so much more. So in order for me to be the best version of myself possible, I need to tend to myself, regardless of me being in a relationship or not. If you're with someone who is attached to your hip and doesn't let you do anything without them, doesn't even let you do the most simplest of things because you guys always have to be together or you always have to be around them, that is someone who is very anxiously attached to you. Finally, the last red flag is one-sidedness in a relationship. This is to say that the relationship is uneven. One person is pouring, and the other person is taking. And then it just becomes this tug of war, and one person gets dragged down, and it's not pretty. The intention behind a relationship should really be, we're gonna talk about cups again, okay? Let's say this cup is in the middle of my partner and I, and we want to make sure that we fill this cup up. That is the goal. So what's gonna happen? He's gonna pour some in, I'm gonna pour some in. He's gonna pour some in, I'm gonna pour some in, and it's just gonna keep on growing. Again, we go back to intentionality and how we need two people who are about actions and making things happen to see the results that they want to get. All right, guys, with all of that being said, we have come to the end of the video. My camera is about to die, so I have to make this super quick. I'm gonna put all of my info in the description box down below, all of my recent videos and stuff of that sort. If you guys like this one, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I have lots more coming for you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what your thoughts were in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.